My grandpa, Jim Lavelle, is the man in the white Stetson handcuffed to Lee Harvey Oswald when Oswald was shot by Jack Ruby in the Dallas courthouse basement. It's the famous Bob Jackson Pulitzer Prize winning photo that everyone has seen since 1963, and it pretty much represents the emotion of that moment and captures the assassination. Since I was in second grade, I've seen his photograph in every single textbook. And when people think about those moments in November 1963, this photograph is what comes to mind. So about 3 years ago, I decided I wanted to do a documentary on my grandfather's life. I moved back home in September 2010, saved up a lot of money, lived in my parents' basement, and flew a crew and myself down to Dallas, and we did a series of interviews with my grandpa, my grandma, and his colleagues for the last 50 years. My story became not only about my grandpa's role in history, but about a larger organization, the Dallas Police and the city of Dallas. Just as my story is greater than a granddaughter telling the story of her grandfather, it's turned into a whole collaboration of people who have pulled together to tell a story that's never been told, even though everyone thinks they've heard it for the last 50 years. And I think what we really have here is a story that's never been told. It's a story about men who didn't ask to be thrust in the spotlight. They didn't even ask to have this movie made about them. But their voices have always been drowned out by conspiracy theorists and the magic bullet and the Kennedys or the FBI. And the fact of the matter is the case belonged to Dallas, and the people who should have been telling the story from the beginning are the people who were there, the people who investigate the murder and collected the evidence. So when I first told my grandpa that I wanted to make a documentary about him, he was excited. He also thought I didn't know what I was doing and I should get a real job. But eventually he warmed up to it, and he has been my #1 fan from pretty much the beginning. The greatest thing my grandpa did for me was open me up to his network of friends and colleagues. And all of them were so warm and receptive to being part of this project simply because of who my grandpa is and their kinship with him and his kinship with me. And I couldn't be more grateful for that. Initially, I was working on the show by myself when it was just me and a camera and interviewing my grandpa in his living room. When I started working with Discovery Studios and working with our team and working very closely with Alan, it became a little bit scary to give up so much control and share something so personal with other people, who I didn't know if I could trust with the story necessarily. It goes without saying that this show would not have been possible without the support of the Military Channel and Discovery Studios. What I've found is that I wouldn't trade my experience for anything. The men in this story are the reason that I'm sitting here today. Without them, none of this would have been possible. And I know that I have a debt to them that I cannot repay, and I can only hope to pay it forward one day.